So I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you all for joining us this evening. Good evening, everybody. Let me say that first. Good evening, everybody. We got a whole lot to be down about, but we got a whole lot to be happy about as well. So good evening. So after November 8th, a lot of us were left wondering what's next. I'm sure you got the question as legislators in your home states, and the answer to what's next is right here. SiX is what's next. You're what's next. For too many people, home doesn't look like home anymore. It's not what we thought it would be. It's not what we expected to be. So we came here seeking refuge. We came here to be inspired. We came here to go back home to do something good. So when we leave here, the same way we left our homes to come to SiX, we take SiX back home. SiX does not stay here in Washington, D.C. SiX does not stay at the Omni Shore. SiX is in Pennsylvania. SiX is in Michigan. SiX is in Wisconsin. SiX is in Alabama and Mississippi. This is where we lick our wounds. And if the last few weeks have taught us anything, more specifically the last couple of days, it's about what the fight for justice should be. It's about what happens when we stay the course. It's a valuable lesson in what resistance looks like. We've seen protesters. A lot of us have protested ourselves. But we learned what a protector looks like. We saw it day after day at Standing Rock in North Dakota, where peaceful protesters were sprayed with water hoses in below freezing temperatures. And it struck something within us all. Some of us have even gone down there. And I'm here today because while November 8th may have been a dark day for the progressive movement and democracy in general, we now know what it means to stand up and fight back and win. That is why I'm happy to be here to introduce someone who was on the front lines, someone who was there standing direct action, someone who was there who led a team of over 500 members of the clergy, someone who was even in Paris to talk about international climate change, someone who has been there for Standing Rock, someone who has been there for us, someone who is now considered a mentor for the progressive movement and what it means to not give up. A lot of us want to give up. A lot of people we want to represent, or we do represent, wanted to give up. Now is not the time. 2017 is our year, and I'm here to introduce the Reverend. The Reverend. He's representative of a larger movement. He is a representative in his own right, and we have to give him a round of applause for that. But he is the Reverend Brandon Mauai, and could not be more proud to introduce him. And everyone give him a round of applause. So, we are counting on you to show us what it means to win. Thank you.
Good evening. Friends from all over the United States that I understand. My name is the Reverend Brandon Mauai. I am, or Maui, whichever you prefer. I serve Standing Rock Sioux Nation in the capacity as a deacon in the Episcopal Church, and I am an enrolled member of Standing Rock. My family lives on Standing Rock. My 5 children, live in Standing Rock. My wife is from Standing Rock. That is my people, and that is the people whom I serve in the Episcopal Church. Thank you all for giving me this time to address you all. Thank you, Mona, Dr. Mona, for her words. I want to share a quick story. There is something crazy about female, women, doctors who will go the lengths of this world to protect our children and our future generations. We have my children's doctor, Dr. Sarah Jumping Eagle, is one of those frontline protectors from day one. She is our pediatrician on Standing Rock, And the first day that the heavy equipment began to move in, she laid down in front of that equipment. Our pediatrician was willing to give her life to protect our children. You see, Standing Rock has been locked in a battle with corporate oil and, unfortunately, state officials. In the state of North Dakota over the last few months, many of you have heard, it's been going on for some time, but it's only been the last few weeks that it's been reported on national media. It's been the protectors who are called together by our tribal chairman, Dave Archambault, called together to gather and support Standing Rock in trying to protect the water, not only for Standing Rock Nation, but every human being who drinks clean water. Mini Wichoni, water of life, and we cannot live without it. You see, this call was answered that he had put out back in August by thousands of people from all over the world. It was answered by all other Sioux tribes. And this resulted in something called the Ocheti Shakoi. This was the first time that the Ocheti Shakoi, the 7 council fires, had come together for a common cause in over 100 years. It was also answered by 300 other tribal nations, and it was answered by our allies from all over, many of whom are in this room tonight. Thank you. The fight has been both long and exhausting, but necessary for the future generations, for those generations who will come long before us, after us. Although times it turned intense and violent, not on the protector's part, but on the law enforcement's part. It has been a fight for equal rights, for environmental justice, and for social justice for all people. That has been what this months-long protest, this months-long engagement has been about. Yesterday, as I left North Dakota with the expectation of delivering a solemn midnight sermon at a midnight vigil, I was in Minneapolis trying to get my way, find my way here, missing flight after flight. And as I was getting ready to board my final flight, I received a phone call from my wife. And if many of you who travel knows that when you're engaged with a Delta agent, you kind of don't want to break that engagement to answer the phone. And so I hit ignore. And then she called again, and I hit ignore again. And I was almost done, then she called again. And she said, "You wouldn't believe what happened. Chairman Archambault just made a statement that the Army Corps had denied the permit." As she told me that, in the background, she's at the camp. You can hear the people, my people, singing in the background, singing and rejoicing because this battle had been won. So as I left on my way over, now that trying to deliver these 25,000 petitions by clergy and faith leaders calling on the Obama administration to stop the pipeline, it turns that I'm only delivering these petitions for the Department of Justice to investigate the over-militarized police force in North Dakota. What has been more significant, both as a member of the Standing Rock Sioux Nation, but also a clergy member, is a statement issued by the Ocheti Shakoi. The statement was that the Ocheti Shakoi, who represents all Sioux tribes, the great Sioux Nation, has declared all forgiven with the United States, even the massacre at Wounded Knee and the assassination of Sitting Bull. And that was huge, and it stopped me in my tracks. It's something that my people have long been mistreated, and it really sat wrong with many of us. and for our leaders, our elders, to say all is forgiven, that we will move forward in this new relationship, showed that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that these relationships can be renewed. But you see, there is so much violence and war on our own lands, in our history, and especially against First Nations people all over. There's so much you might want to apologize for. And to that, I say don't apologize for the history, but use that history to steer you in a direction of recognition and reconciliation. Although this easement has been denied, this was only a battle won. The fight continues at Standing Rock and all over. There is environmental racism happening, and it continues to happen in every one of our states. Enbridge Pipeline in Line 3 of Minnesota would carry so much oil as much as the Keystone XL, and it would travel through the wild rice beds of the north in Minnesota. A pipeline in the community of Bluff, Utah, Navajo land, where a pipeline is being considered by the Bureau of Land Management. You see, take what you hear from not only myself, but Dr. Mona, and go home and do the work that you were elected to do, to be the voice of the people and to move forward in recognition and reconciliation, renew relationships with the people. Go back into your states and hear your people, because the fight continues on all over. Thank you.